Silence, all stand and remain standing until the conclusion of the reading of the proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, the proclamation. All persons having any business before this honorable court, please draw nigh, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Ruby Grace Abbott Monnox.
May it please the court, I move that Ruby Grace Abbott Monnox be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ruby Grace Abbott Monnox be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Samuel Ryan Boyd Bailey.
May it please the court, I move that my son, Samuel Ryan Boyd Bailey, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Samuel Ryan Boyd Bailey be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rachel Ann Bonnick.
May it please the court, I move that Rachel Ann Bonnick be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rachel Ann Bonnick be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Matthew Broadhurst.
May it please the court, I move that Matthew Broadhurst be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Matthew Broadhurst be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Emmy Lee Solani Caldwell.
May it please the court, I move that Emmy Lee Solani Caldwell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Emmy Lee Solani Caldwell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Charissa Bo Chen Michaud.
May it please the court, I move that Teresa Bo Chen Michaud be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Charissa Bo Chen Michaud be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Charmaine Chong.
May it please the court, I move that Charmaine Chong be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Charmaine Chong be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Hugh Willem Ely Cranendonk.
May it please the court, I move that Hugh Willem Ely Cranendonk be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Hugh Willem Ely Cranendonk be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Joshua Joseph Catroni.
May it please the court, I move that my son, Joshua Joseph Catroni, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Joshua Joseph Catroni be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Alexander Casimir Dale.
May it please the court, I move that Alexander Casimir Dale be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Alexander Casimir Dale be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jeremy Kwa Dang.
May it please the court, I move that Jeremy Kwa Dang be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jeremy Kwa Dang be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
George DePlaros.
May it please the court, I move that George DePlaros be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let George DePlaros be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Reed Saxby Farrell.
May it please the court, I move that Reed Saxby Farrell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Reed Saxby Farrell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ziyu Go.
May it please the court, I move that Ziyu Go be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ziyu Go be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Shirin Dai Ha.
May it please the court, I move that Shirin Dai Ha be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Shirin Dai Haag be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lilika Hasagawa.
May it please the court, I move that Lilika Hasagawa be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Lilika Hasagawa be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Catherine Yvette Henniker.
May it please the court, I move that my niece, Catherine Yvette Henniker, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Catherine Yvette Henniker be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Warwick John Ison.
May it please the court, I move that Warwick John Ison be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Warwick John Ison be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Tamara Ann James.
May it please the court, I move that Tamara Ann James be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Tamara Ann James be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Hitesh Kaplish.
May it please the court, I move that Hitesh be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Hitesh Kaplish be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Erica Eugene Kim.
May it please the court, I move that Erica Eugene Kim be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Erica Eugene Kim be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Gemma Consti.
May it please the court, I move that Gemma Consti be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Gemma Consti be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Theola Shanying Lee.
May it please the court, I move that Theola Shang-Yin Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Theola Shang-Ying Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Paul John Leonard.
May it please the court, I move that Paul John Leonard be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Paul John Leonard be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lillian Mackin-Haynes.
May it please the court, I move that Lillian Mackin-Hayes be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Lillian Mackin-Haynes be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ruby Rashiga Migantena.
May it please the court, I move that Ruby Rashika Migantena be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ruby Rashika Miguntena be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Brent Sebastian Moran.
May it please the court, I move that my brother, Brent Sebastian Moran, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Brent Sebastian Moran be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nicole Rose Needham.
May it please the court, I move that Nicole Rose Needham be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Nicole Rose Needham be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Clement Z. King Nye.
May it please the court, I move that Clement Zeking Nye be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Clement Zeting Nye be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Anna Kate O'Donnell.
May it please the court, I move that Anna Kate O'Donnell be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Anna Kate O'Donnell be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Charlie Hawkins Oldham.
May it please the court, I move that Charlie Hawkins Oldham be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Charlie Hawkins Oldham be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Annabelle Jane Phelan.
May it please the court, I move that my niece Annabelle Jane Phelan be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Annabelle Jane Phelan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Charlie Jane Pollock.
May it please the court, I move that Charlie Jane Pollock be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Charlie Jane Pollock be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Claire Ann Reish.
May it please the court, I move that Claire Ann Reish be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Claire Ann Reish be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Mustafa Rifai.
May it please the court, I move that Mustafa Rifai be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Mustafa Rifai be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Mod Omar Samadi.
May it please the court, I move that Mod Omar Samadi be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Mod Omar Samadi be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Marie Isabella Sherry.
May it please the court, I move that Marie Isabella Sherry be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Marie Isabella Sherry be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Kelly Vivian Stewart.
May it please the court, I move that Kelly Vivian Stewart be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Kelly Vivian Stewart be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Rayanne Tamer.
May it please the court, I move that Rayanne Tamer be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Rayanne Tamer be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Madeline Sue Lynn Teo.
May it please the court,
Let Madeline Sue Lintillo be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Madison Kate Thompson.
May it please the court, I move that Madison Kate Thompson be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Madison Kate Thompson be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Annabelle Grace Thorne.
May it please the court, I move that Annabelle Grace Thorne be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Annabelle Grace Thorne be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Claudia Elizabeth Thorne.
Please the court, I move that Claudia Elizabeth Thorne be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Claudia Elizabeth Thorne be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Morelli Vermeulen.
May it please the court, I move that Marley Vermeulen be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Marilee Vermeulen be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jack Wilcox.
May it please the court, I move that Jack Wilcox be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jack Wilcox be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Betty Zeng.
May it please the court, I move that Beatty Zhang be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Beatty Zhang be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ilda Takui Zolu.
May it please the court, I move that Ilda Takui Zolu be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ilda Takui Zolu be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will now be necessary for those applicants whose admission has just been moved to stand and remain standing for the purpose of swearing of the oath or the making of a declaration. So please stand as directed by the officiating officer.
Would the first two rows to my right please stand? Ruby Grace Abbott Monnox, Samuel Ryan Boyd Bailey, Rachel Ann Bonnick, Matthew Broadhurst, Emmy Lee Solani Caldwell, Charissa Bo Chen Michaud, Charmaine Chong, Hugh Willem Ely Cranendonk, Joshua Joseph Cutron, Alexander Casimir Dale, Jeremy Kwa Dang, George DePlaros, Reed Saxby Farrell, Z.U. Go, Shirin Day Haag, Lilika Hasagawa. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Would you please say, so help me God, or I do? I do. Would you please be seated? Would the third and fourth row to my right please stand? Catherine Yvette Henniker, Warwick John Eisen, Tamara Ann James, Hitesh Kaplish, Erica Eugene Kim, Gemma Consti, Theola Shanying Lee, Paul John Leonard, Lillian Mackin-Haynes, Ruby Rashika Migantena, Brett Sebastian Moran, Nicole Rose Needham, Clement Z. King Nye, Anna Kate O'Donnell, Charlie Hawkins Oldham, Annabelle Jane Phelan, Charlie Jane Pollock, Claire Ann Reish, Mustafa Rifai. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Would you please say, so help me God, or I do? Would you please be seated? The first the two rows to my left please stand. Maud Omar Samadi, Marie Isabella Sherry, Kelly Vivian Stewart, Ray Ann Tamer, Madeline Sue Lynn Teo, Madison Kate Thompson, Annabelle Grace Thorne, Claudia Elizabeth Thorne, Morelli Vermeulen, Jack Wilcox, Betty Zeng, Ilda Takui Zolu. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill, and ability? Would you please say, "So help me God," or "I do"? I do. Would you please be seated?
Well, may I warmly welcome you all to the Supreme Court of New South Wales for this morning's ceremony. Present with me on the bench this morning is to my immediate right, Justice Beach Jones, who is the Chief Judge of the Common Law Division and a Judge of the Court of Appeal. Justice Johnson, to my immediate left, who is the Judge of the Common Law Division. Justice Price, second to my right, who is the Chief Judge of the District Court of New South Wales and a Judge of the Supreme Court. Justice Fullerton, second to my left. Justice Adamson, third to my right. And Justice Fagan, furthest to my left, all of whom are judges of the Common Law Division, and Associate Justice Harrison, furthest to my right. Together, we constitute the court that has, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you, the newly admitted lawyers, to practice. We have done so sitting and meeting on the land for which the Gadigal of the Eora Nation have cared and been custodians for thousands of years, and the court pays its respects to Gadigal elders, past, present and emerging, and extends those respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. In the spirit of the Uluru Statement of the Heart, which is an eloquent, accurate and powerful statement which looks forward to a fuller expression of Australia's nationhood with great dignity, we acknowledge the regrettable reality that this nation's laws and legal systems have so often in the past delivered the opposite of justice to First Nations people. To all the newly admitted lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is one for great celebration. You've all worked extremely hard to get here. Countless late nights of study, obscure problem questions, reading pages and pages of textbooks or on the screen, and more cases than you can hope to remember, many of which no doubt were written by people on the bench today. And for most of you, your journey to admission has involved two extraordinarily challenging final years affected by the pandemic and in which you have been deprived of many of the opportunities for the forging of close bonds with your peers that those final 2 years of study usually present. You have faced and come through an additional adversity unprecedented in our lifetimes that makes your achievement today all the more impressive, and the resilience you have developed will stand you well into the future, I'm sure. It is in a spirit of optimism that I express my sincere hope that you enter the profession at a time when our society is exiting the dreadful impact of the pandemic. In being admitted as a lawyer this morning, you join a profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an oath on admission to practice dates back to the 12th century, and this court first admitted lawyers in 1824. By 1830, the names of lawyers were entered onto the rolls in this state, as you will do immediately after this ceremony. You have thus become part of an Australian tradition almost 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or for your family and friends, that may be how long it feels you have been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends will have been invaluable. No doubt they've also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion, but I would encourage you to take time to thank them today. Depending on how good an advocate you are, you might even convince them to shout you lunch or dinner to celebrate the day, or you could do the same for them. Now, the law touches every part of our society, and it can and will lead you all in many different directions and career paths. But in whatever direction you head, you must always remember that the oath or the affirmation you have just made is a very serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you go on to work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, a Crown Law Office, a government department or agency, or in an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. And you must strive at all times to uphold these values. Admission as a member of the legal profession is a privilege, it is not a right. And it is in acknowledgement of the weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the fact that your admission has been moved by someone who is already a member of the profession, and that you have stood and made your formal oath or affirmation in the presence of your family and peers. They are all witnesses to the promises and undertakings you have made today. As to formality, you will see from the portraits around this Banco court that we on the bench are wearing the same robes, in some cases literally, as have been worn by our predecessors. Symbolically, that highlights the continuity of the rule of law in New South Wales. In a world in which there is much global uncertainty and insecurity, the rule of law is more important than ever, and not simply a phrase of some theoretical import. It is the opposite of the arbitrary abuse of power and the opposite of the rule of autocratic dictators and populists. There is nothing theoretical about those notions. Now, although we mark the occasion this morning with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanged. The pandemic meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure access to justice continued in the midst of the pandemic. And whilst challenges have arisen in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants, new opportunities have presented themselves, including greater workplace flexibility, which is important, especially important for lawyers with family responsibilities. Better use of technology also has profound implications for how our legal system interacts with and may become accessible to many people, including those in rural or remote areas, those with disabilities or medical conditions. And while the increased use of technology offers a number of advantages, it's essential to remember that the practice of the law has human nature and human interaction at its core. An essential part of being a good lawyer is understanding people, how others react to different situations, perform under pressure, and deal with each other in our community. As I said in my recent swearing-in speech, whilst the remote practice of the law may be possible, it is far from desirable. There are, of course, other changes that deserve attention in addition to those brought about by the pandemic. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that on the one hand, we have actually come a long way, but on the other hand, much still needs to be done. For example, although women were originally not even permitted to practice law in New South Wales, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all the solicitors with a practicing certificate in New South Wales and currently make up 2/3 of solicitors under the age of 30. Women also occupy many of the most senior positions of the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia, the Commonwealth Attorney General, the President of this Court's Court of Appeal, who was formerly the Chief Judge in Equity, and the Commonwealth and State Directors of Public Prosecution are both female silks. There should not only be greater gender diversity, but also strong representation of lawyers from many different backgrounds which comprise our cosmopolitan community. Diverse representation amongst solicitors, advocates, and judges assists in ensuring that all members of the community who become involved in our justice system, sometimes involuntarily, can be and feel that they can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. The admissions ceremonies on which I have sat since becoming a judge just over 3 years ago, including this ceremony, highlights that there is a far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than when we all commenced practice, and that is a very good thing. You, the newly admitted lawyers, are in a unique position as you enter the profession at a time when I think more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out about unfair laws, systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable, or unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying. You should speak up for the things that matter. Lawyers have always done that, and it is part of the fine tradition of being an advocate. You are the future of the profession and will steer its future course. I also encourage you to engage with your communities outside the law. Your training as a lawyer in systematic thought, in the importance of matters of principle and fundamental fairness, including due process and natural justice, equip you very well indeed for service beyond the day-to-day practice of the law. You will also derive great satisfaction from a wider engagement in the community. Now, turning from opportunities to obligations and a little bit of friendly advice. As a lawyer, you'll often need to make difficult ethical decisions. You must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice. One mistake you must never make is to give your clients the advice you think they want to hear. That will not be good advice. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, said, I quote, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same question for the same reasons, no matter who asks the question or for what purpose or in what context the asking may occur," unquote. That is, as one might expect from that very fine judge, very sage advice indeed. Being a lawyer means that you're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum, but law as it applies to people's lives. An individual in need of your services as a lawyer is in most cases an individual facing some kind of great personal challenge or crisis affecting his or her liberty, property, personal well-being, or health or financial position. For these reasons, you must always strive to deliver legal services sensitively, competently, and fearlessly, but always with courtesy and integrity. In this context, I wish to emphasise the importance of civility. Aspects of the law, especially if you're involved in the litigation side of practice, are confrontational. The practice of the law can be stressful and demanding enough without personal animus and antagonism between practitioners adding to the load. It is essential that you maintain your professional detachment, balance, and good humour, remembering at all times that you are a member of a profession and not a business. And remember this, the best advocates can and do make their point simply and succinctly. Often, less is more. Some of the most experienced lawyers and judges, including myself, could use that reminder from time to time. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make the law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, oftentimes by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. Strive to be clear and concise at all times in both your writing and your speaking. I also want to touch briefly on the concept of failure. There will inevitably be quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. The law attracts those types of people. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor, some more serious. We all make mistakes from time to time, especially when we're starting something new. What is important is you try not to make the same mistake twice, and when you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity, and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can, and learn from your errors. Finally, your physical and mental health are both extremely important. There may, and I dare say, will be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out, or distressed. Legal practice can be all-consuming and physically and mentally taxing. You must work hard to keep your balance and keep your eye out to ensure that your colleagues do as well. If you do get overwhelmed by it all, as frankly we all have from time to time, try to take a step back and recapture some perspective, or suggest gently to your colleagues that they do so. In this context, also remember that the legal profession, is a highly collegiate one, and in times of difficulty, the support and friendship of your peers will prove invaluable. Both the Law Society and the Bar Association are fully attuned to the potential stresses of practice and do a wonderful job in supporting their members. Now, can I say this to you all in closing? The law is a wonderful profession, stimulating, challenging, and satisfying, and it is populated by highly intelligent, committed, and dynamic people. You should be proud to be a lawyer and of your achievements to date. You should remain proud to be a lawyer. It is a very important profession, and a legal career is one that can take you in many different directions, all of which are interesting and rewarding. Hold your heads high and the very best of luck on the exciting journey that lies ahead. On behalf of all of the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly my colleagues here on the bench this morning, I once again congratulate you all on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The court will now adjourn.
All stand. This honourable court is now adjourned. God save the Queen. Just remind you again, those people